Welcome to the A-Game. I'm your host, Noah C. Cornelius, alongside Chris Daniels. This week, we will bring you the latest men's and women's basketball highlights, discuss all the craziness that took place during the NFL Divisional playoffs, and we will take a look at who cracked the top 5 in wrestling. All this and more coming to you now. Welcome back to the A-Game. Eric Fisher joins the discussion this week. So Eric, talk to us about the craziness that was that NFL Divisional round last week.
Yeah, I think craziness is the perfect word to describe it. It was probably one of, if not the greatest weekend for professional football ever. The Bills had possibly the most devastating loss in NFL history. I would say it's up there. Also, the Bills have the historic 4 falls of Buffalo in the Super Bowl in a row. Mm-hmm. And this, I think it just makes it sour now, and I feel really bad for Bills fans. They deserve a win, and I like Josh Allen. I think he's a good quarterback, but you can't deny Patrick Mahomes. 13 seconds left, marched down the field, hit the tying field goal, and then there's a controversial overtime call with just a coin flip basically decides the game, because that's how it was. We saw how the offenses were playing in that game. Mm-hmm. There was 25 points, I think, in the final 2 minutes of that game. So I kind of felt like whoever's getting the ball was going to win that game, and that's what happened.
Yeah, so I want to talk about kind of how the Bengals have really transgressed themselves into becoming, honestly, Super Bowl contenders, because Joe Burrows really came into the league off of LSU, all that stuff. He's won championship with the LSU team, and he could possibly bring the Bengals to the Super Bowl, and that's just incredible because you never know what can happen when it comes to teams jumping into the Super Bowl after coming into college. Sometimes college players kind of peak at that time. Mm-hmm. So him going to the Bengals and, making their franchise popular, is great. And I also want to touch on Tom Brady as well, because Tom Brady really did Tom Brady things. Yeah. Came in the fourth, just obliterated the competition, just made the Rams look silly after they just dominated them the entire game. So it was typical stuff from Tom Brady.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No.
With the Bengals, though, Joe Burrow, you ever heard the term, winning mentality, and some players have that? Tom Brady has that, but, Joe Burrow, we've seen that in the college career. That guy was, he was a backup. He originally wanted to go to Nebraska, his dad's alma mater, I believe. Right. Didn't get in. He goes to Ohio State. He's a backup. He's, 4th string in a crazy quarterback room. Then he goes to LSU, and he wins, and it's just he has, this winning DNA with him, and it's the recipe's falling in Cincinnati. I didn't even expect that, honestly, so soon as well.
Well, hey, it was definitely an exciting round of divisional games. 3 walk-off kicks and 1 exciting, controversial overtime. But now, what were y'all's reactions to the Arkansas State game versus Appalachian State Thursday?
I loved it. Honestly, it was a great game. It was a fun game. It really, the whole game, I think, especially kind of later in the first half and in the second half, it felt like it was a really close game. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the energy, and I think both teams knew kind of the stakes going into this game. They knew App State knew if they win, they're first in the Sun Belt. It's a big game. They have a couple games in hand, so always got to take that into consideration. But I think they knew, they were this is a big game. This can we are in control of our destiny. Mm-hmm. It's not like we have to look at other teams. We can really run the Sun Belt and possibly make another run at March, and hopefully. And so App State was always consistently up. And late in the game, though, you and I saw, it got a little close there, and it was getting a little scary. But they just had a solid game, and the offense wasn't quite there. Delph had a little bit of struggling. I know, Chris, you want to talk about that. But it was still a good game, great game defensively, especially.
Yeah, when you talk about defensive games, they made the Red Wolves turn over 15 times and then converted 15 points from that. So obviously they were on the defensive prowl that game. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about App State and basketball, they're on a 5-game win streak after that game. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're coming in hot, 4 games. They wanted to make a statement, be the first in the Sun Belt. And like you said, possibly go back to March. It's the 3rd time. 2021 was the 3rd time they ever did it. 2000 was the 2nd time. So, they can honestly do it.
Yeah, it's exciting. And, we talk about it a lot. There's a change with this program, and Coach Kearns, he loves this team. And you can feel that in the game, the passion. Any bad call, and there are a lot of bad calls in college basketball, but, he really, means it and feels the passion. So this team, they can win, and they can definitely like see the success. And that good group of like Donovan Gregory, Adrian Delph, Justin Forrest, like they are the leaders of this team. We've seen good leadership from them, and that's just a great thing to see in a college basketball team.
Yeah, and I sat in the press conference talking to Coach Kearns, fantastic guy, great leader for this team. And I asked him, I said, so you guys are now atop of the Sun Belt. And then I said, we're going to play Little Rock at the time of this recording on Saturday. And, Little Rock's the middle of the pack. And he stopped me in a nice way. He stopped me and was like, hold on now. This is not we need to understand that the Sun Belt Conference, 1 or 2 games separate these teams from first place. It's a second place tie with like 6-5 teams, some outrageous number. And I know people are like, well, Sun Belt's not a Power 5 or whatever, but this is an extremely competitive basketball conference. And the fact that App State is not only at the top, but they beat the best team last night. They're on a 5-game win streak, and all the teams relatively in the conference are strong.
Yeah.
This is a good sign for App State's basketball program.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think showing that, your conference is competitive, that's going to help you if you get to March, especially. So I think for this team, they just need to see that they can win and they can compete, and then down the line, it'll get even better, hopefully.
Well, here's hoping that Appalachian State can keep up the momentum, and hopefully you can see them in March. So guys, what went right and what went wrong during this game?
So first I want to touch on the wrong, and I think this is what the problem is with a lot of teams, NBA, college. They got to work on the free throws. They shot 5 for 13 last night, and then that kind of averaged out to a 38%. It's just like, even though the App State had that game in the fourth quarter, it's like if the game was close, that would have been the moment that would have ruined them, because you always go back to the free throws. You always go back to, did he get these free, easy points that be able to stretch the game? And they really got to work on that.
Yeah, and I'll go kind of on the positive side with the right, but I thought the scoring was really like diverse in this group. It was really good because we've seen, especially this season, Adrian Delph has kind of like carried not carried the team, but he's definitely like carried the scoring load, I would say, especially, he had the one game he went off. He had a bunch of points. I forget which game it was. Yeah.
Like 30 points.
Yeah, something like that. But on this game, we saw Gregory, Almonacci, Delph, and Forrest all in the double digits having good games. So that was nice to see. But also, shots just didn't fall. And sometimes you're going to get games like that. But that showed you how strong the defense was. You touched on the turnovers earlier. So I think that shows this team, even when things aren't quite going their way, they're still going to be good and consistent, and they can win.
Yeah, and I think a big right in this game was Justin Forrest hitting 2,000 career points in college.
Yeah.
I honestly missed that going into this game. I don't know how I read over it, but congratulations to Justin Forrest. He went down in the second half. He had to go out of the game, but he came back in, and he had an amazing game all around. So stay with us, folks, because after the break, we are going to let y'all know who our MVPs were for the game and what this win means going forward for the Appalachian State Mountaineer basketball team.
Life is a journey. We're told that there are mountains and valleys before us. A mountaineer trudges through. Where others see an obstacle, a mountaineer sees an opportunity. A mountaineer climbs tomorrow's mountains today. So what is a mountaineer? A mountaineer is you.
Welcome back once again to the A game. So guys, tell us, who was your MVP of the game?
So while he didn't have the greatest game against Arkansas State, I really want to go with Adrian Delph. He had 10 points, but, people kind of gloss over the fact that even if you just have 10 points, it doesn't really put a blimp on anything he's done this season. And furthermore, it doesn't really put a blimp on any of the stuff that he did on the box that wasn't on the box score, like setting screens, spacing out the floor so other guys can work, just making sure that people are aware of what they see on the court. So, Adrian Delph is one of those guards that I really feel like has that ability to do that, on a higher level.
Yeah,
and he kind of displayed that last night. Even though he only dropped 10 points, again, he still did a really great job, and that's what a guard does.
Yeah, you could say it wasn't his most efficient night, but he was still played very well and noticeable. For me, I have to go with Donovan Gregory. I thought he did a great game. I thought he was just getting into the right places at the right time. There would be times where Forrest gets doubled, he gets behind the double team, and then he gets open in a good passing lane, and then boom, a good dunk, a good look, and he's getting baskets. And he had 11 points, just a good game from him overall. And I just thought he was in the right places throughout the entire game, and just also he played 38 minutes. I mean, he was on the court almost the entire game as well.
Last segment, I talked about Justin Forrest a little bit, but I got to touch on Michael Almonte as well. We had 4 players scoring in double digits, and he had 13 of those points. And in the press conference, he talked about not only himself, but how well-rounded the team was in the Arkansas State game. So, lot of love to Michael Almonte, but it was a great game all around for the team. That being said, there were some MVPs. Anyways, what is the impact of beating Arkansas State, and what does it have on the rest of the season?
Honestly, I feel like the rest of the season, right now they're 4-1 in Sun Belt. Obviously, as you talked about earlier, Sun Belt's not one of the top 5 conferences, but it's still a huge conference that you got to look at. So I feel like when you look at the Sun Belt Conference, you look at the overall, they're playing super well. And again, as you touched on it earlier, Eric, they made the March Madness for the first time since 2000. So it's absolutely fantastic. And obviously, when you do something like that, when you have a group and you stick together and you don't transfer, you have a bunch of seniors on this team, juniors on this team that played in that game, that first 4 game. It's absolutely incredible because, it obviously boosts your ability to be able to play better the next season because you're like, okay, I can get to this point, and now we're just going to go further.
Yeah, I would say, especially what you're saying with building momentum, expectations get high, but they're delivering on the expectations so far this season, I would say. But kind of looking at last night's game, it definitely has an impact on the season because we are first in Sun Belt, so we kind of, the road goes through us so far, but there's still a lot of basketball to be played. And, it's very close in the Sun Belt. I think, Noah, you said, it's 6 teams are right there tied for second. So I think this game does have an impact, but we can't look at it and be like the job's kind of done because I think we almost do that in football sometimes in certain wins. So I think this team kind of just keeps looking ahead, looking at the big prize, which is the big dance, March Madness. So they just keep their head down, keep playing well. I think they'll be good because they still got a lot of big conference games to go. Yeah,
and it was a big game. But again, with 6 minutes to go, it was almost seemed like the Mountaineers were getting – it was getting a little hot in that game. Arkansas State was catching up. And the Mountaineers were just shots wouldn't fall, and there were some defensive breakdowns.
Yeah.
So there's stuff that could be improved, but it was still a big game, and the impact of it cannot be denied. So kind of switching to a broader picture here, but we've seen some crazy fan turnouts to games other than football. What's going on with the fans this season, guys?
Honestly, I don't know, but it's great to see. It is basketball. I think because you said, Chris, the success of the team as of going to March Madness last year, which is it was very unexpected. I did not expect them to win the Sun Belt, but it happened, and they won the tournament, and then boom, there they were playing in the first 4. Sadly, they couldn't make it out, but still, I mean, that was a big deal. And then we went to Noah, you and I went to a cross-country race last fall. It was a while ago, but it feels like years. But, it really wasn't that long ago. But even that had, a really good turnout. Wrestling's having good turnouts. They're having success. Baseball possibly could have good turnouts as well when that season comes around. Same with softball. So, all these teams are, women's soccer also had success as well late in their tournament. And it's just nice to see that these teams are having success and they're generating fan kind of love, and I think the student body is now paying more attention to them because we are a football school, but I'm definitely starting to see the tide switch, and I think we'll still be a football school, but I think people will realize hey, we have these other Division I teams that are just as good, maybe if not better than our football team is currently.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they're kind of getting out of that football-only school because, last season when I went to a bunch of basketball games, it would be not that many people, maybe 1,000 maybe, and I'm like, where are all the people at? This is basketball. You know, we're not bad or anything, but just football is just on another plateau. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So wrestling, you know, wrestling's doing great right now. They're undefeated in the SoCon record. So obviously people are seeing that. They're saying, oh, this sport is great too. Let me go check that out. So like, you know, like we were saying earlier too, it was over 4,000 people at the basketball game versus Arkansas State. So obviously people are in tune now. They're coming to the games. They're seeing that, you know, we're putting on great basketball. We're winning. So this is great.
Yeah, and there's true passion on the team. And I think that the fans are starting to see it, that these players and the coaches care, and they're starting to pay attention to that and, you know, pay their respects by going to the game.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I think people are understanding what it means to be a Mountaineer, whether it be an athlete or a fan. I don't know if it was like COVID and people are realizing how much sports mean to them now that we didn't have it for a number of years. But like we are turning out in numbers at the basketball game. I was saying that was the loudest I've ever heard Holmes Convocation Center. And obviously I haven't been here for more than a semester and a half, but like something about it. There's something about this school. There's something about these fans. And we're seeing it this year. And our sports teams are definitely becoming better because of it.
Yeah, and actually, funny enough that you say that, I remember at the game, one of the security guards was like, this is the most I've ever seen for like people filming highlights and like press here. He said that to you and I when we were there shooting highlights, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, like that's funny, but like he kind of made a joke. He's like, oh, is it because they're winning now? And I was thinking, I was like, yeah, like we're always there, like filming highlights and stuff when we can. But like definitely with the crowd, it's like they're starting to truly appreciate the team, and the team's getting the recognition they deserve, and with the winning especially now.
All right, so I really do feel like that COVID point is great because obviously we couldn't go to any games. We couldn't be engulfed in the App State environment, you know, in that rocky crowd that we're used to seeing in the football stadium, and now we're finally seeing it in the basketball stadium a little bit because, you know, like they said, like Eric said, they're winning now. So it's like you're kind of being rewarded for going there, you know, not watching players sulk, you know, because they're losing. So obviously after that COVID stuff, you know, they're working more on themselves, being home alone, working on their game, you know, trying to come back and show the App State that they've improved, and all the sports have improved, not just football.
No, you're absolutely right about that, Chris. Stay tuned, because after the break, Chris and I will take you through the electric week the men's and women's basketball teams had, along with a look at the wrestler who is doing big things for App State.
Welcome back to the A Game. I'm Chris Daniels alongside Noah C. Cornelius. The women's basketball team continued their hot streak this week against Coastal Carolina. Let's take a look. Alexa Alesh with a big three to get the crowd fired up. Michaela Porter follows it up with a strong layup. Big pass to Alesh and she'll put up 2 more for the Mountaineers. Fifth Allison slides right through the strength of the defense to continue the strong offensive run to open the game. To the end of the first quarter, Emily Carr with a spin move in the bucket. Number 24, Janae Saunders picks up the recovery, makes the pass to Porter and she'll finish the job. Alesh continues her impressive play, goes right over the defensive head for the clean 3. Coastal looking to make a beeline to the basket, but look who it is. Zeta Porter made her presence known. She'll tally up 2 more for the App State. Now look at this. A couple of huge half-court passes gives the ball to the Alicia. She'll put it up before Coastal defense realizes what's happening. Emily Carver manages to slide her way into the bucket with a crucial late game basket. And Saunders wraps things up for 2 more points. Nears win by 5, 66-61 your final score. This moves the team up to first place in the Sun Belt, with the team set to take on UT Arlington Saturday.
The men's team also got the job done this week against Arkansas State. Let's roll the highlights. We start yesterday's highlights off with a big 3 from Michael Almonacci, followed by a strong one-handed jam by C.J. Huntley coming off the pick and roll. And the defense turns into offense with a steal by Donovan Gregory with a powerful finish at the other end. And another big 3 from the wing by Almonacci, followed by a turnaround step-back 3 from Justin Forrest to end the half. Forrest continues his play with a strong drive and finishes at the rim through contact, followed by a big 3 from the corner, getting the crowd into the game at Holmes Convocation Center. Number 11, Donovan Gregory slices his way to the paint and finishes with a 2-hand dunk and a foul. The Mountaineers win 61-54. This win moves App State to the top of the Sun Belt with only a handful of games to go before the Sun Belt Tournament. After the break, how one Mountaineer wrestler is making a huge impact in the Division I scene and what App State sports are set to get underway here in the future.
Hi, my name is Melissa Weddle, and I'm Department Chair of Recreation Management and Physical Education at Appalachian State University. We offer 2 degree-granting programs, one in Recreation Management with a focus in outdoor experiential education, recreation and park management, and commercial recreation and tourism. Our second degree-granting program in health, physical education, and coaching offers teacher certification for public schools in health and physical education. You can get a minor or certificate in coaching. We are the front porch to the Beaver College of Health Science, where our focus is on quality of life, wellness, and physical activity. We're located in the beautiful mountains of Boone, North Carolina, so come join us, check out our website, or take a class.
What brings us to mountains? Is it the possibilities that await us at the top? Are we looking forward to how the challenge will mold us, transform us? Maybe the mountain is inside all of us. After all, we are Mountaineers. Appalachian State University.
Life is a journey. We're told that there are mountains and valleys before us. A mountaineer trudges through. Where others see an obstacle, a mountaineer sees an opportunity. A mountaineer climbs tomorrow's mountains today. So what is a mountaineer? A mountaineer is you.
tanda de Buenos Días, Boone. Aunque nuestra comunidad funciona en pequeñas cantidades, nos aseguramos de que la información que necesite le llegue a tiempo. See you at App TV.
Welcome back to the A Game. Noah, I know you were actually covering the basketball game on Thursday.
I was.
How did you feel about it?
An exciting 64-51 win for the Appalachian State Mountaineers tonight. We had 4 players in double-digit scoring. Forrest Almonesi, Delph, and the one and only Donovan Gregory. It was a fantastic game all around for the Mountaineers. Got a little close in the final minutes of the game, but we stepped up defensively in very key moments, and we sent the Red Wolves hiking. Number 1 in the Sun Belt Conference, the Appalachian State Mountaineer men's basketball team. I'm Noah C. Cornelius for the A Game, and I'll see you guys very soon.
What a crazy game that must have been.
No, it was absolutely insane. I'm glad that we came out with the win.
Big congratulations to both the men's and women's teams, taking the sole number 1 spot in the Sun Belt.
It was electric, indeed. Wrestling is underway here in the High Country, and 6 of your Mountaineers have been named in the most recent coaching rankings. Caleb Smith, Cody Russell, Jonathan Milner, Cody Bond, Will Formato, and Thomas Flitz were the App State wrestlers who made the top 33 in their respective weight class. Jonathan Milner came in at number 5, helping App join Cornell, Princeton, and Northern Iowa as the only non-Power 5 teams with a wrestler in the top 5. Milner, who is a returning All-American, is boasting a 10-1 record so far this season, which includes 2 high-profile wins over Duke's Josh Finesilver. Here is what head coach John Mark Bentley had to say about his season. The wrestling team is back in action Sunday, taking on Chattanooga.
Taking a look ahead now, the men's basketball team is traveling down to Texas to take on UT Arlington and Texas State this week, with the women's team joining them Saturday at UT Arlington. Women's track will be over in Johnson City at the Buccaneer Invitational Friday and Saturday. The tennis team will travel to Greenville to take on the Pirates of ECU Saturday, and finishing off the weekend, the wrestling team will travel to take on Chattanooga. Well, that's all the time we have for you this week. I'm Chris Daniels.
And I'm Noah C. Cornelius. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all the latest A-Game news. And we'll see you next week on the A-Game.